So today I went to see the film Conclave, directed by Edward Berger, starring Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow. I'm going to start out by saying, don't take your children to see this movie. Not necessarily because there's anything objectionable in it, but because they would find it extremely boring. It's rated PG. I know it might be tempting to bring your kids to it, but don't do it. There was a family with children in my viewing of this movie, and I felt very bad for the kids the whole time. That being said, as an adult, particularly one who has an interest in religion, it was not boring. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it, but don't bring your kids to this movie. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I'm always torn a little bit when I do these videos, whether I should talk spoilers and give my opinion about more specific scenes and things like that, or whether I should just give a broad overview in my opinion and stay away from spoilers. This video is probably going to have spoilers, so just be forewarned, okay? Because I think I need to talk about some spoilery things in order to properly give the point of this film its due. So this is basically a papal political drama. Within the first few minutes of the film, the Pope is dead, and a conclave is convened in order to elect a new Pope. And Ralph Fiennes' character, Cardinal Thomas Lawrence, is the individual who presides over this conclave. So the first interesting thing about this movie is that, especially in the beginning of the movie, it does a good job of showing how mundane something like religion is. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, these are people that are presiding over these institutions, that are doing the work in these organizations, and it can be very mundane to do religious work. And I think the movie does a good job of establishing that in even things like the sound mixing, and just in choices to not have tons of music and just let little sounds happen and little human things happen. So that was very interesting. If I were to hone in on the main point of this movie, I would point to a homily that the character Cardinal Thomas Lawrence, played by Ralph Fiennes, that he gives at the beginning of the conclave. And he says something to the effect of, certainty is the enemy of unity. Said another way, you could maybe say that tradition is the enemy of inclusivity. So throughout the movie, there's this kind of struggle between what I would say are more progressive Catholics and more traditionalist Catholics. There's kind of spats going on in this conclave, and there's little cliques forming, and there's little investigations going on the side to try to discredit some of these papal candidates. And at the end of the day, it's boiling down to, there's one group that doesn't want Catholicism to revert back to kind of an archaic traditionalism, and there's one group that wants to basically uphold and highlight the tradition of the Catholic Church. So there's those two factions, right? And in this movie, we're rooting for the faction that is wanting progressive Catholicism, that is wanting to move forward with inclusivity, with diversity of opinion, really. If we get stuck in tradition, if we get stuck in doing things the way we've always done them, just because we've always done them that way, and if we don't allow any room for new ideas, any room for differing opinions, any room for novel views of things like theology or religion or God, that's going to limit our reach to people. It's going to basically slowly kill any chance of the religion progressing. On one hand, these sound like boring themes. They're not. They're very relevant to pretty much every facet of life, if you think about it. They're relevant, obviously, to religion. I would say they're relevant also to politics. I don't think it's a mistake that this movie came out on an election year only a month or so before the elections in the US took place, because you could see very easily how this translates to politics, right? We have a country right now that seems to be very partisan, very divided, right? And I think the idea of the movie is, if we are so certain that we are right and that we are backing the right person, whether that be Pope or president, right? If we're so certain about the things that we believe, if we're so certain about our values, if we're so certain about the people that we support, that could be an enemy of a unified people, because we're all going to have our different opinions on what's going on. We're all going to think that our values are right, other people's are wrong. we're all going to think that we're backing the right person, they're backing the wrong person. And when we start to have that mentality of, I am definitely right, you're definitely wrong, and we don't entertain the idea that possibly we could be wrong about some things and other people could be right about some things, when we don't entertain that concept, when we don't accept that that could be the case, it's very hard to be unified, right? It's very hard to come together with people if you think they're an idiot and you're the cleverest person on earth. That's kind of what this film is going for, right? And like I said, I don't think it's a mistake that it came out when it did. Because it can very easily translate to some of the politics of the world right at the moment. And to be clear, I'm not taking one side or the other on anything. I'm just saying I do agree with the concept of certainty being the enemy of unity. I think this idea carries beautifully through the entire movie. I think it makes its point very well. Also, the actors do a great job. They sell kind of the tension that's going on here. But even in the ending scene, which I was a little torn on, or the ending, I don't know if it wouldn't really be one scene, but kind of like the very end of the movie. Basically, the movie ends by kind of the underdog candidate, the most innocent candidate, the most kind of unexpected candidate winning the papacy, winning the election to become pope. And it's revealed, first of all, I thought they were going to end the movie by not showing you who won. And I thought that could have been a really interesting choice, because it almost would have been asking the audience, what do you think? What's your opinion on who should win? But what they decided to do was they revealed who won the papacy. And like I said, it's kind of this underdog, the most innocent kind of character. It's revealed that he is an intersex person. At first, this concerns Ralph Fiennes' character, but then this individual who has just won the papacy explains to him, look, I think I can be a good pope in light of this, because I can understand both sides of this particular coin, right? Like I said, this goes along with this idea of certainty being the enemy of unity, because the idea there is, it's uncertain what sex he is, basically. And he's saying this could be advantageous to me because it could unify as opposed to alienate. I don't know that I loved that ending. Like, I understand what they're going for. It's a very interesting way to end the film. Like I said, it could have been really interesting if they just would have cut before they showed you who won. I respect it, and I get what they were going for. At the end of the day, not everyone is going to like this film, because not everyone is necessarily invested in religion. Not everyone is going to be wanting to see a drama about the Pope and about Catholicism that's rated PG, it's basically just dialogue and drama. Not everyone's going to be into that. I liked it a lot. I respect it. It's not a perfect film. It's not, like something mind-blowingly wild, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was very enjoyable, and I really appreciated what they were trying to say. Like I said, don't take your kids to it. They'll be bored out of their minds. Unless for some reason your 7-year-old has a real just love of like theology or something like that, and philosophy. But yeah, it's not a child's movie, even though it is rated PG. I think I'd give this movie an 18 out of 24. I quite enjoyed it. It's not the most mind-blowing movie ever, but it was a solid movie, and I really appreciated it.